Well, good noon. This is April the 10th. Yes, Tony, it's April the 10th. You know, I sent out a note a while ago that told everybody it was today, was April the 11th. I apologize to everybody for that confusion. I've been working on a class we've got for tomorrow all day, and I wasn't able to disconnect the two. But we appreciate all of you that tuned in and understood. The good thing about our industry is that they're so patient and so understanding with me. I really appreciate it. We're running a little late today because we had some things that need to be tended there in the Department of Labor and Licensing, and there are times there's just nobody else to handle it but Tony. He had to take care of it. Tony, thank you so much. Welcome to Lunch and Learn. This time we're going to be talking about duct testing and pad sizing. Tony, well, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me again, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure we're here together. Okay. One of the things that we need to address, because it affects the whole industry, and that is we spent the last several months telling everybody that duct testing on new construction was required. Now, all of a sudden, it's on hold. Tony, talk about that.
It is going to be on a brief hold. We have a board hearing a week from today, and we're going to address this, and I'm going to summarize this up real quick. It's going to behoove you to keep doing the duct leakage test for the simple fact we've gone out and inspected those with the good full back tape. It's made from the same manufacturers, your hard cast and Sure tape. There's 2 or 3 manufacturers that make both the mastic and the full. It's the mastic without, it's the full back tape without the gummy on it. They squeegee down the elbows, they squeegee down the hemlock, the side joints, the butt ends, all the plenum joints, and it still meets. We had a 2.5% duct leakage, pretty dang good system. And compared to a foam system that had a 3 leaking just as much. So your advantage is we're not doing manual mastic inspection if you provide the duct leakage test to us. It's a performance, more stringent test that's going to be accepted. And I do believe the energy code, from what I'm gathering, fire's been lit. They will get a code adopted. I think it's going to be the 2018, probably going into effect in January. So this is still going to be here. We're telling you to keep on keeping on. It's on hold as far as mandatory, but I strongly urge everyone to keep doing what they're doing, what they've been trained to do. And, you can look at the benefit. You got a 20 drop house. That's a lot of mastic versus a good fullback system that's sealed and squeegeed up. Get your duct leakage test, provide it to us. Hey, good to rock and roll.
So let me make sure I understand. If a person does mastic the way we have been taught to do since 2015, you're going to need to have a visual inspection that they in fact use the mastic tape or the brush-on mastic.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if they opt to and say they want to put on the foil tape, that will be acceptable if they do a duct leakage test. Is that correct?
And it passes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, I think it's kind of important for people to understand how we evolved to this particular point. And so there was basically 3 points leading up to the 4th that said that the duct testing would not be mandatory. You want to cover those first 3 items?
I do. I will. The Arkansas, so the code adoption, we were all at the table together. We being the fire marshal's department, the mechanical division, plumbing, fuel gas, and the energy department. And everybody was agreed they were going to their latest code. The plumbing was already set. They were at 218. We're going to move forward because they'd already put 2 years into it, rewrote the entire code, and changed their name again to the Arkansas code, fuel and plumbing. So they had a lot of time. Mechanical side, we adopted the code in its writing, same as what we thought the energy was going to do. We were informed that didn't pan out. The full-blown building code, chapter 11, stated this was mandatory. I was at BLR sitting right beside them, and then something happened that chapter 11 got moved to strictly the energy code. They adopted up to 11, deleted 11, moved it to the energy department, went on into 20, and then deleted the rest of those because there's other codes that regulate that. Wasn't aware of that. Kind of got slapped in the face like everybody else. However, this is it's coming. I mean, that's why I presented it to the chairman of the board. We've got the strength, and the board itself looks at this as a more performance restrictive code, restringent code. You're doing the consumers a solid here. And you can almost wash the money with the mastic. So we've educated our contractors to be a better contractor. We don't want to go backwards. We're not going backwards. We want to keep moving forward. But this is where it came from. It was supposed to be mandatory in IRC. It slipped out. But it is, and our department was strictly doing the mechanical system anyway, not the full-blown fenestration of windows, glazing, all that. We're strictly tied to the duct system. We're still tied to the duct system. That's why with our board and this approval to allow this instead of the visual mastic mandatory, which we're going to go back to if you don't want to do the duct leakage test, it's almost a wash price-wise. And, you know, it depends how, unless you're buying that mastic in large quantities, it's pricey.
So again, I I don't want to belabor the point, but I want to make sure that we communicate this and people don't have any problems understanding. If in fact you want to use the approved foil tape,
Approved, that's the trick. Right.
You may do that if you do a duct test. If you don't do that, you still have to stay with the brush on or the mastic tape.
And have a visual inspection done, correct.
All right. Okay, I understand. Hey, it's a great improvement. I think it's especially important to the guys that went ahead and invested in their duct testing equipment, because now they get a benefit from owning it. And
I like the folks that are doing it and starting to let me know, okay, I see where it was leaking and I never thought it would leak there before. They're witnessing that, you know.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that in spite of all this confusion, we're continuing to have our classes. And the reason we're continuing it is I didn't realize this other was taking place, but we wanted to make sure that when the day came that we did have duct testing as a mandate, you would be prepared to do it. And we've already done, oh my goodness, 9 or so classes across the state. And we've got these other classes that we've listed here. So it's ongoing, but it's not just for the purpose of duct testing being mandated. It also gives you the benefit to be able to demonstrate to a consumer how duct leaks. And this is an example of a fog or smoke test. I love this picture, Tony, because who would have thought this much air would have been leaking?
Coming out of the elbow right before it goes up to the boot?
Yes, sir. Right there. Yep. Anyhow, there's a real good value in doing duct testing, whether we're talking a mandate or not. But with this new thing that's happened to us, if you want to use foil tape, you can do it as long as you do a duct leakage test. That takes us to the point of pads. Interesting topic, Tony, on pads. I just thought we might look at some of the things that I know our guys see out in the field all the time. This is kind of leaning into it. You know,
yeah, that's leaning, all right.
That's sort of leaning into what it's supposed to be, but not quite getting there. Well, I like this one.
Yeah.
It almost got on the pad, didn't it?
Yeah, and that was not hurricane damage, I don't believe.
Oh, I like this one. It needed a little help.
Yes. So, you know, I guess his leveling of it, he has his solid pad. It's supposed to be 3 inches of solid pad.
I've seen
that's better than it was.
Yeah, I've seen many a unit that was placed on cinder blocks, maybe 4 of them if they were loaded. Okay.
And I had a picture of a package unit I should have sent you that's where some of this came from, that said, oh, no, you're not going to do that.
Okay. Always refer to
manufacturer's instruction. They're not going to lead you astray. Most of the time, they're more stringent than our code. So if you'll get that pictorial book, if you don't even want to read it, they do nice pictorials these days. That's why they're so thick. Even the condenser, it used to be 8-9 pages. It's 30 pages now. Here's your picture. Here's your arrows. This is how we do it.
That fits people like me.
Me too.
All right. What are we looking at here?
All right. So some of the ductless require, it's hard to find in the picture, but you got to look. There's two little self-tapping anchors on there, and they don't get specific with what. They just state they want this mounted to the pad. A lot of these are starting to be, you're seeing mounted on the side of the buildings. They provide a special rack that those feet set in and lock in by boat, but they're kind of they've got that little rotary compressor, but they're really top heavy by wind, and it won't take but a little bit and you can flip them over. So I've seen several manufacturer instructions due to wind, put some anchors in there and move on and put it on a solid pad or on the mounting kit on the side of the building.
What are we looking at here, Tony?
That is a good picture. The state would pass that. Now, the two items in the middle, have no idea what that is. Still don't know.
That's right here.
That right there and the little boats there. Now that right there, that York setting on that pad, we would pass that. However, a gentleman brought it to my attention and showed me in the manufacturer instruction. I don't remember. I think it was a American Standard. I'm not positive, but it specifically said they wanted 3 inches of coverage all the way around. That would not meet their requirement per their instructions. So that's why, again, I'm trying to, it's got the 3-inch solid. We know it's not going anywhere, but if you're reading their code, you wouldn't read their instruction I'm talking about. So I still refer to everybody, get to the instruction. You won't go wrong. So some of those require, and I saw one that got specific on a package unit as far as what they wanted around the foot of the package unit.
So it may be flush and it may be 3 inches, or it may be whatever the manufacturer
The
says.
mechanical code requires a 3-inch solid pad, flush. That's the mechanical code. Again, more restrictive city ordinances, manufacturer instructions might require more.
Now, when you say 3 inches, are we talking about 3 inches deep?
Deep, yep.
Wow.
In depth, like that concrete there where it's down, that and the little black, the ones that have been made that are out of the tires, 3 inches. We had some in the state called Cadillac. They were 1.5 inches, and they just sprayed this little like rhino liner on them over a styrofoam pad. And after a year or two, them things just fall all apart. The dogs urinated on them. You didn't get 3 months out of them. They just fell apart rapidly. Yes. So the 3-inch solid pad.
And anybody that's have dogs in their backyard,
oh, they know.
They have problems, don't they?
It's damaging that. Yes, that's it.
Line sets.
Line sets. We are getting into a new world. Your code requires the protection of exposed line sets with certain refrigerants. We are moving towards A2Ls. I'm going to simplify. It has propane in it. So those other refrigerants that have propane, you have to protect puncturing of that outside line set from you throwing a rock or anything that can happen to that. It has to be protected. If you have your standard 410A, 022, you're okay, but you got to think about the changing out in the future. This would be on that old deal. New construction, we're hiding these line sets. We're going in the wall through a sleeve or something, but exposed line sets for the fact that by January of next year, when we're supposed to start going into the A2Ls, think about that. You might want to put this into your quote package, a cover duct, because I'm going to start covering that line set.
Let me see here. A question I had for you on this, Tony, is that this doesn't look like it's all that exposed. But how far down the wall, or how close to the ground, or how close to that turn does that cover need to be?
So what the mechanical code will allow you to do, you measure from the king valve. They allow a 3-foot radius to kind of turn the copper and a 3-foot vertical. So they give you entire length run of 6 foot of exposed copper, but they're wanting it to come down close to the top of the condenser. And they used in the commentary flying debris from lawnmowers or anything that could throw pebbles and knock that hole in that line set, things like that, protected. And then down here, it's normally coming down, is protected by the condenser. So there is a 6 foot, they allow a 6 foot exposed copper before you have to start to cover.
But that's only 3 feet up.
3 foot up. Yeah.
3 foot up.
Yep.
So regardless, if it's only a couple of feet over to what I would call the wall and the turn to go up, you still cannot go down, cannot go higher than 3 feet before the cover's got to start.
You're
Did I
right.
say that right?
Your magic number is going to be 3 foot, the top of that
Okay.
condenser.
All
Or,
right.
you know, speak of the top of that condenser. is
I
what-
got you. Well, Tony, we're in a constant state of change these days, and I appreciate our industry because most of them, though they get a little frustrated by it all, you know, you point them in the right direction, and that's the direction they'll go. They want to comply. They want to do the right thing. I think we're fortunate to have an industry that is as as versatile and willing to comply as we have.
I read one of these chat things, says if I have a plastic pad that's not 3 inches thick, do I need to replace it? Well, the code says 3 inches. Now, I don't know how you're going to slide something under existing or whatever, if you can do it. If you're in the stages where you're still working on it now, yeah, I mean, to meet code, it's supposed to be 3 inches in depth. Do we require condensers to be level? Yes, they are required to be level per manufacturer instruction. Now, I will tell you that a lot of them will tell you it's a slight bubble down away from the house to let the rainwater go off. It'll show you that with a pictorial. If you don't get it perfect, do not slope it back. Some of them ask for a slope towards away from to get the rainwater over. And the last one, should cover be enclosed on the end near the, no, that would have to be open on the cover duct there. I've always tried to get to those, and it's for some reason I run out of time, Tom.
So with that being open down there like that, if somebody said they had concerns about, water daubers getting up in there, is it okay to foam that to where they
Well,
can't get
now,
up in there?
okay, that's a good point, Tom. That would be considered your rodent proofing area anyway with the foam. Yes, you would down there. I might have misunderstood the question. So that's a good point, Tom. Yes. This has 2 line sets going in it, so that's pretty full. But
Yeah.
yes, you would need to go ahead and seal that, and they deem that as rodent proofing. And if that was the intent of the question, I apologize. Tom is correct. You would.
So is that a requirement then that you do something to kind of seal it with a foam?
Yeah, you would. That would fall under your 30117 because you're trying to keep wasp and mice and things from going up and through there. Even though they might not get in the house, this is another area where they could put something up inside there.
Huh.
And
Well, Tony, it has been, you got another question there? You want to answer it?
yeah, where is it was a thank you by David. That's one of our board members. Well, good deal, David. Awesome.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you, and it has been a lot of fun. It's been a tough day with my mistake, and then with some technical difficulties that got us kicked off. But I appreciate the fact that you're patient, and all of our guys are patient. Our next session is on Monday, May the 8th, and I look forward to seeing everybody then. Until that time, you guys go forth and have a lot of fun. It won't be long until you'll be knee-deep in alligators and hot as you can be, taking care of Arkansans and meeting their cooling refrigerant needs. Until next time, have a good day.
Thank you, Tom.